What is going on, and welcome to another video in Finding Freedom. Now, I know you see me in my tank top, and some people might say certain things, but then again, if you go to the gym, you see a bunch of people in tank tops and tight form-fitting clothes. Are they looking for attention? Do they want people to look at them? Do they want them to feel sexy or whatever? You compliment them on, their muscles because they're so large and in charge, so on and so forth. So in this video, we're going to talk about, getting over the nervousness of, the tension that builds up when it comes to not only the perception of the world around you, but if you want to get on screen, if you want to get on camera, if you want to present yourself in a, not just a authentic way, but be able to listen to the environment and then respond in kind. So when it comes to getting over nerves, the first thing you have to do is, dive into the deep end of the pool. The only way you're going to expedite that process is literally to dive into the deep end of the pool or have someone just throw you in there, right? Here's an example. When I was younger, we went swimming and I got thrown into the deep end of the pool. Long story short, it was perfectly fine. Everybody was having fun. We were all having fun, so on and so forth. You learn how to swim real quick when you can't breathe. Let's say that, right? So, think about it. And then, of course, I went to the Marine Corps and things like that. And, they teach you how to swim with other things. But then again, we're here at a park, right? It's beautiful. But why am I at a park, so on and so forth, etc.? And how am I able to present with all these people walking around? We got interruptions. We got people driving by. We got people that are like, I don't know if they want to be on screen because if let's say I had a brand, right? CBS or whatever the case, right? Or Paramount News right here, so on and so forth, etc. MGM Studios, whatever, right? If I had a sign, people would literally walk by unintentionally and then just for some reason want to glance at the camera just to be like, like a photo bomb, right? But then again, it's everybody's passion or interest to be seen, heard, and understood. And if you don't understand that people want that last part, then you're going to miss the icing on the cake and everything else in between, and you're not going to be able to fill in the gap for the puzzle pieces to come together. But that's because, a lot of people, they want to seek and find the laziest way possible, right? So seeking and finding the laziest way possible is to, cheat, right? And people will say, oh, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? Okay, so if we're in a relationship and I want to hook up with somebody else, but we're married or whatever, am I supposed to be honest with you about that? Or am I not supposed to be honest with you about that? Is it a two-way street? Are you able to do one thing? I'm not able to do one thing. What can I get away with if you are going to do something else? Maybe you want to have an open relationship on one end, tight. I'm going to go hang out with the guys, so on and so forth. Don't ask me what I'm going to do. I just won't cheat. How about that? Right? Or vice versa. I want to go hang out with a bunch of people because I like to go dancing, and sometimes females are there. Do you have an issue with me dancing with other females? Probably not, right? But if you're going out, right, it's a whole dynamic, right? Because a lot of people, they hear, oh, girls' night or girls' trip or guys' trip and things like that. And then all of a sudden they start hearing and seeing all the stuff in the background. So let's simplify this, right? Because if people want to get on social media or present themselves in an authentic way, don't fake the funk. There was a gentleman that I got to work with back in the day, Sidney Johnson. We used to break dance together. And we were on a team called Tantrum and all this other stuff. And I remember he was like, don't stop. People don't know that you messed up unless you inform them that you messed up. A principle that I already knew from magic, but in dancing it was different. The reason I stopped was because I knew I was offbeat slightly. Right? So I was waiting to catch something, right? Now in dance, you can dance to the tempo, you can dance to the lyrics, the words, right? So on and so forth, to describe your actions. You can dance to the bass, so on and so forth. So if you ever seen dancers dance or like the bass hits, they go boom, 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 right? And they'll make hard hits, right? That's the bass, right? Or they'll be a little bit softer and they'll have musicality, and they'll try to dance in between, right? If you're familiar with Face and Every Good Boy Does Fine because you're a musician, then you know those are the musical keys, whether you're playing a guitar or a piano, right? Or any instrument for that matter. But what's the difference between a treble clef and, a bass clef, right? How do you know the difference? Right? So this is, something that you have to not only understand, but whatever you're trying to do online, right? Be genuine, be yourself, etc. You know, first get maximum exposure as possible. I'm gonna throw this one out there just because I can. I remember there was somebody that I was learning how to sell from. I could literally market to anybody in the world. I could perform magic for almost everybody in the world and be perfectly fine. However, for some reason, I had a weird rub with sales, right? And it just didn't feel correct to me, right? It was more of a one-on-one dynamic. Oh, why do you need this? Why do you need that? And I always heard the similar pattern over and over again. See, I fell in love with marketing because marketing is the magic of business. Sales just has to deal with the speed bumps in the road, right? So, as they say in Glengarry Glen Ross, right? Oh, ABC, always be closing, right? But then, of course, the sales team will blame the leads. The leads are crap. I'm going to generate my own, etc. If marketing speaks to the masses and the masses speak to who matters to the company, then why is sales complaining about marketing if they showed up already? If they already showed up, then how did marketing and the leads fail? They didn't, did they? It was on the salesperson, right? But they need somebody to blame, and it's the same thing. Oh, I'm gonna film right now. Hold on, let me get my eyebrows correct. Let me make sure I got the right attire. Let me make sure I shave. Make sure I look presentable. Let me make sure I hold my hands in a posture because I'm media trained, etc. Right? Why don't you just be natural? Be yourself. Because what's going to happen is if you meet someone in person and they see the fake facade online, they will gladly meet you in person and then gladly disconnect just as fast, simply because of the fact that there is a disconnect. I saw this version of you online, but I did not see this version of you when we were in person. What's the difference? Well, one was staged, presented in a certain manner, right? And then the other one, well, took into a couple of factors. But what happens if you go out and you become popular, famous, so on and so forth? You build a huge YouTube channel and people are like, hey, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. I just want to see what you got. I want to see how you did it. I want to see this. I want to see that. But then you start asking them questions and say, well, if you want to do that, let's film some content right now. I could put you on screen and you can ask me questions. I could turn this into a whole interview process. This would be great for those that actually want to, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going to fix these things. This is not to knock on anybody, but if you're coming around me, trying to see what I'm doing while I'm, whatever, pretending, getting closer and closer like a flame to a moth, right? The tiki torches, they have a scent, right? And I'll share this with a couple people. I had a friend named Alex, right? And we went out for his birthday to this place called Cheetahs, so on and so forth, etc. I was supposed to watch over everybody. And if you've ever been to Cheetahs, you know exactly what Cheetahs is. If you're in North Carolina, it's like Scores. And so we were just going to have a good time for his birthday, plus he was leaving. And he had a mindset where he was scared because he didn't know how people would judge him if he wanted something specific. So he came up to me and goes, Mike, mind you, all the guys are having fun. Everybody's having fun. He comes up to me. I was like, Joe, what's going on? It's your birthday. We had fun. We went out, etc. And then he comes up to me and goes, I'm not into skinny women. I'm more of a naturalist. So I know half of them are just, looking that way to make a certain amount of money. I want somebody that looks more real. And I said, explain to me specifically what you mean looks more real. I was like, are you talking about like Kendrick Lamar, like F the Photoshop, etc.? Got you, right? And he's like, something like that. So I went over to one of the ladies there that was a lot nicer than another one that I'll bring into this in a second. And I said, excuse me. I said, my friend over there actually is not into anybody here. He was wondering if he had somebody more realistic that he would meet possibly, that like Paula Deen. Let's just say that, right? Can't have more butter, right? So next thing you know, she goes, I got the girl for you. Don't worry. It's going to be perfectly fine. I've never seen a man smile so big when this lady came out. He was just like, I said, happy birthday. And then, of course, he comes over. He's like, Mike, You don't think that's weird that I like people that are a little bit, I was like, heavier, that don't go to the gym all the time, that, maybe go 2 or 3 times a week? No, it's what people naturally do, right? I'm not the one that's into it. You are. And it's your birthday. So come on. And he's like, oh, I just thought that. I was like, stop, stay right there. You have fun. I'm going to step outside and I'm going to go smoke a cigarette. So I went outside and I smoked a cigarette. Come back inside. I order a Monster drink from the bartender, and I'm just chilling there, and somebody comes over and starts talking to me and everything. I understand and hear the sales pitch and everything, and they're trying so hard. Now, this is where I got to see true intentions and true colors, right? The moment I kept rejecting, the negativity came out. Oh, you smell like cigarettes anyways. Oh my God, I didn't want to be around you. Good, it keeps the flies away. If you were trying to really work that hard and so on and so forth and bypass all of that, and then finally when you realize that you were just going to give up on day one, be like, oh, you smell like cigarettes, I don't even want to talk to you no more, then is the issue with you or is the issue with marketing? Right? Because marketing is not the issue. Everybody's there. I've informed you. I'm here to watch my friends. It's my friend's birthday, etc. I can't be distracted right now. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Ma'am, this is great. However, I'm here. It's my friend's birthday. I'm DD, and I'm supposed to, make sure that everybody gets back safely. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I don't think you're hearing me correctly, and I don't know if you know how to play baseball, but I'm not interested. Trust me, I promise you. I literally, if you ever had a guy dance on you, please, by all means, then come and approach me, and then you can pay me. How about that? And then, of course, they got an attitude, and, oh, you smell like cigarettes anyways, I don't want to talk to you. And that was where the term, good, it keeps the flies away, right? Because a fly will keep going until it gets burned in the flame. This was said by Heath Ledger in Casanova. He said to, I think, was it Giovanni Jacopo Casanova, right? He said, you want to be the flame, not the moth, if I remember in the movie correctly. And he said, why? He said, because the flame will forever be internal, right? So what does that mean? Well, think about it. If you put an ultraviolet light to catch all the mosquitoes and the flies, so on and so forth, and they go, oh, like Buzz Lightyear, right? Or Toy Story, whatever. Oh, right? And they keep getting closer and closer and closer, and then they don't know what happened, but somehow they ended up somewhere else or somehow whatever, right? Because they couldn't pick up on what somebody was saying. Or they were just playing dumb, and so they just acted like a dum-dum, right? And that's perfectly fine, even if people are even telling them or informing them certain things. Why are you still acting like a dum-dum when I already called you out? I had somebody not know what an 808 proxy was, as though I was trying to talk about it, right? But an 808 is actually a determination within an IP address, not a proxy. Yes or no? Now you have a standardized IP address, like what, 192, etc., 198, and then you have other ones, 3 by 2 by 3, give or take, and then of course you could reroute that through, well, a VPN, but that doesn't always work, so you actually have to link it to another server, or bounce it from modem to modem, then jump servers, depending. So whom are you to even begin to try to fake the facade, right? That's my geek side coming out. But it's one of those things where I hear certain things because people like to be braggadocious, right? And there's this beautiful woman, and she's like, you want to talk about it? And I'd be like, oh. And I remember there was this other lady that I was extremely good dance partners with, friends with, and actually I can't say dance partners because we were more than dance partners. We dated for a little bit. And I was like, woman? And she's like, man? And I was like, I'll be right back. And she was like, what? I was like, I don't think you understand what I'm saying right now. And so, and it's happened time and time again where I try to help people and they just either continue to either play dumb on purpose intentionally. I could point to a screen that literally says, someone needs an attorney, and they'll just keep, oh, this right here, this right here, this. If I slapped you in the face hard enough, would you need self-defense classes? Or would you go call all your boys and your posse and your friends, so on and so forth? right? Think about it, right? So you have to understand, if you don't know what's going on, for instance, if you're not studying how martial arts works, but you watch too many movies, right? And then somebody comes up, like for instance, I had an homage to my tech background with JKD, so on and so forth. I put them together to see exactly if we could get people to, well, merge and integrate. So I call it SDK, self-defense knowledge, right? And there's different levels. The thing is, there's no green pen in there, right? Because if you look at the philosophy, it talks about planting a seed, a tree, how the branches grow, the bark, etc. And then it goes into everything else. What do you think? Money grows on trees? So, I mean, really think about it, because if you don't understand and you get tested, then you're going to be lost in the sauce if you're fraudulent. Doesn't that make sense? If you're a New Yorker, you know what I'm saying, right? Because if you're a New Yorker, you say, yeah, I'm from New York, blah, blah, blah. I could talk like this, you know what I'm saying? Or I could talk like this. If I want to say I'm from Savannah. And if I'm from Savannah, then I guess I must be from South Carolina, Georgia, something like that. Pero si yo estoy hablando en este momento así, pero estoy rápido, estoy suavecito. What country am I from? See, it's very interesting to see how the different patterns move through, right? Thing is, when you're faking the funk, you get caught very quickly. So don't do that, right? Be yourself. Go outside the way you are on a Friday night, and how, or during the day with all your close friends. There's a lady on social media called Lexi, right? Lexi's one. There's another one called Sophie. These two are completely opposites, right? One has the ability to say a lot of things that I can't get away with saying sometimes because I'm a male, so on and so forth. She's a female, so she could get away with it. And then she does the eyebrow thing, which is crazy. She's like, please do it, right? And I'm just like, keep going. Yes, I can't say that because I'd get in trouble. And then you have Lexi, who's like into cosplay, etc. And she's like dancing and funny and giggly and everything. And so if you were to look at it, it doesn't match what people are normally used to seeing, right? Because people would say in marketing back in the day during the times of Mad Men that sex sells, right? So people think that you have to be all bombastic and, let me show this and why don't you show your other personality? See, Sophie is literally showing outfits with what she's doing, right? And selling fitness, because that's how she was able to get there, right? It wasn't certain characteristics, etc. This is going to be about the money, blah, 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 blah. It was, well, I got to this point. I'm starting to get attention, acknowledgement. You're going to pay me to put on clothes? First of all, I had one lady in my life. I remember we were going out to a party. She goes, I have nothing to wear. I was standing in her walk-in closet, clothes all around. And I was just like, you have nothing to wear? What about all these clothes? Yeah, it's just that I'm looking for the right thing for tonight. Funniest thing in the world. It's like purses and shoes. I don't understand it. It just works. And I'm probably never going to understand that whole thing. Me, I could throw on a t-shirt and jeans and leave. Like I went to this one, Christmas party. It was a white elephant party, right? And somebody might say, don't think of a white elephant. Hold on, let's do a mic check. All right, we're good. If you're getting anything out of this, go ahead and like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I come out and I'm wearing a black t-shirt, jeans, because that's just the way I am. Plus, I'm used to going out dancing. So if you go out dancing, you start sweating, right? If I'm wearing a lighter color shirt, right, and I start sweating, it's going to look disgusting. But I can also just swap it out with something else, right? And I still look professional, right? That's the only purpose that I normally do it. And then, of course, they're a lot cheaper, right? If you get a solid color shirt, you could buy a couple of them as a pack, and then you could go out dancing, and it's super simple, right? Oh, weren't you just wearing, oh, you changed shirts, right? That's what people would normally say, because if you go from, let's say, whatever you arrived in, and then you change your shirt, they're like, oh, you changed shirts. All right, cool, I can dance with you now. Or, yeah, no, let me go change my shirt because I'm all sweaty. See, if I know I'm all sweaty while I'm dancing, right? Because granted, I have a black shirt on, so they're going to really have to focus in to see it. Then I'll just keep them at a distance, right? Hand distance, etc. I'll have a light touch when I'm dancing with them. And then if I'm dry or if I change my shirt, I'll be able to do other things, etc. Carry a proper frame between the shoulder blade and the hand, etc. Or vice versa, depending on who wants to lead. Right? It's a little awkward for me to follow and dance because I'm just used to leading, but I don't mind. Right? Every once in a while, if that makes sense. Just because I want to see exactly how the other person. It tells me how the other person wants to be led, if that makes sense. So if I feel and I dance with a person and they have a light touch and I'm like, oh, this is like playing with, like, I don't know, like water, and it's very fluid and soft and etc. And if you ever dance with a lot of professional ballroom dancers, they have a light touch. Right? If they came from more so the street environment, they learned how to dance there, they have a harder frame when they're moving to be more firm, to react quicker, sharper, etc. But the professional dancers have a lighter touch because they're more sensitive. So you have to be able to readjust and recalibrate either on the fly or very quickly in that aspect. And that's the same thing that comes to, well, presenting, right? Getting over those nerves. This is why if I ever meet somebody and they're like, hey, I'm trying to do this, etc., but I'm scared, this, that, and the third, I said, let's go dancing. And they're like, why do you want to go dancing? I say, I don't dance. It's okay, there's classes. Let's go dancing. I will get rid of every single excuse just to give results to show that the water is fine, and people still won't do it. I had one person say, oh, I want to do this because you make it look easy. First of all, if it was easy, everybody would do it. 2, if you quit on the first day, you're probably not meant to do it, sweetheart. I am so sorry. I hate to be honest with you, right? So try something else, right? If you're quitting on the first day or you're quitting on the first month, right, because of X, Y, and Z or whatever the case may be, then either it's not for you or you're not willing to take the steps necessary in order to, well, move forward, right? For instance, in my martial arts thing, which I'll be doing self-defense classes here in Charlotte soon, at a certain point, there's a part where it breaks it down into the DISC profile, right? DISC, right? Otherwise, known in psychology as, what is it? A driver, influencer, social person, and then conservative. Then you could go into it with PACE, which is from Tai Lopez, which is like practical action, something emotional. Then you have Myers-Briggs personality test, and then, of course, all the other things, right? But this also falls into the psychology of marketing. And if you don't understand that, you're not going to understand how to speak to an audience, nor how to design for them. And then how do you literally convert all that stuff into imagery? When you see the numbers and everything like that, you're like, oh, I just thought this was words and pictures. It is so much more complex than that. I am telling you, it is so much more complex than that. At least marketing is, right? Because marketing is like an umbrella. And underneath marketing, you have public relations, PR, right? Then you have copywriting. Then you have scripting, depending if there's video or not, right? Then you have presentation. Then you have the people that you're speaking to, that you're presenting to, that you have to write the copy and the script for, that you're also going to have to handle public relations for because of the backlash. Then you have the other stuff, right? So if you hold up an umbrella and you see like the little notches going around it, each one of those notches is probably a section under marketing, right? And then you have advertising. Then you have above the fold. Then you have moving them down the funnel. Then you have top, middle, and bottom of funnel. Then you have advocacy. Why? Because advocacy is word of mouth marketing. And if you think that's the only thing you need, then you're going to be sadly misconstrued and plateau at a certain area, right? Because what you want is, yes, advocacy. That's the strongest form, word of mouth marketing, that is, right? If they truly believe it, right? If you're selling affiliate products, but you're just doing it for the money, is probably the reason why, and people can see that, right? For instance, I use a certain particular type of toothpaste that I noticed was going on now, right? I'm not going to mention anything because I'm not looking for any affiliates as far as toothpaste is concerned, even though it would be awesome. But I see people selling this, and they're just doing like the same thing, either what other people are doing, and there's no problem with mirroring and matching, right? There's no problem with that. Oh, I saw this other person do it the exact same way. I saw this other person do it. But what about you? What makes you unique? See, it's not the average person or what everybody else that's, doing everything else that makes people successful, right? It's the unique ones, the different ones, the outliers that are successful, and everybody emulates to be like them. And emulation is the greatest form of flattery. Just be careful, because sometimes people don't want to get noticed. I'll give you an example. I was at a restaurant. I was hanging out with a friend of mine. We went dancing, and then I was like, hey, tomorrow you got any plans? I want to show you around, etc. This is some place you could probably take your children, because the stadium was there and all this other stuff. And I was like, we went to Angeline's, and I looked at her. I said, all right, hopefully she knows how to follow direction. I said, don't turn around or look, okay? She goes, okay, what? I said, have you ever seen House of Cards? She goes, yeah. I said, do you know who Kevin Spacey is? Yeah. I said, he's actually sitting down right over there. And I made a subtle gesture. I said, but don't look. The moment I said right there, she's like, boo. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, are you kidding me right now? That drew all the attention that needed. As soon as she did that, here comes a young kid coming up to him in the middle of his dinner. He's a normal person. He puts fucking underwear on just like you, right? Hey, what's going on? Hey, how's it going? ChatGPT voice, right? Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to know, like, oh my God, I love your stuff. And it's great for like a good 2 minutes, maybe 30 seconds, like a freaking Instagram reel. But don't drag it out to 5 or 10, right? People's time is valuable. The reason they're in that position, that area, is probably because there's not a lot of things around them, like cameras flashing, etc., is because they're trying to be like normal people. So treat them like normal people, right? How would you like it if I came into your house, saw everything that you had, right? Oh, I just want to see what you're doing. I want to see what's inside of here. I want to see this. I want to see that. I want to know what's here. I want to know this. I want to know that. I want to know this. Okay, invite me to your house. Let me see everything you got. Let me hear every conversation in word. You probably won't like it. You won't like the intrusiveness, but you want to be intrusive. Think about it. Why? What made that person so interesting to you that you had to be so curious, or a nosy Nancy? No, right? That you had to be a nosy Nancy in order to disrupt this person's peace in a nice restaurant, having, a personal dinner, etc. Whether it was one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-three, whatever the case may be. And then, of course, the person that's trying to assist you, when they say, don't look, and then you go and look, you just gave everything away. And you gave it away earlier. Right? You don't know how that kid found out, but maybe he was paying attention to something else, saw the attention. Why is she looking over there? Oh my God, do you know who that is? So think about it, right? Or if you're projecting, you're using projectiles in communication. Yo, do you know that person over there? I'm like, I'm right here. It's not television. I can hear you. Like, this is the old thing. I got it from this guy named Chris Hannibal from the Magic Castle. I am literally right in front of you. Not even that far. Like, you don't have to project, homie. Did you really do this? Seriously? Do you do that all the time? Or are you just stuck on stupid? Because you didn't pay attention in class, obviously. So what, are you just throwing projectiles out there? Or should I say projecting with words? This isn't freaking badminton. This isn't baseball where you're just, oh, D, nice. Hey, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. That's the target. That's the mark. That's that. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are you kidding me? How? Look, I understand we're in Charlotte and there's a lot of charlatans out there. I wonder where they got that word from. But please, by all means, be smarter and think about it. Presentation is 9/10 of the law, but it's also 9/10 of business. Why does Apple make more money, no offense to Android, but then the Android phones that get sold on the street, or let's just say at Walmart sometimes? Presentation is 9/10 of the law. Why is it that price? Why does it look like that? Why does this? But then you go to Apple and you're like, you don't even ask that many questions. Like, I just want this phone. Can you show me how to use it? I was thinking about getting it. Why? I don't know, but I really want to get it. And that's the question, right? Why? The thing that people want to avoid. They never want to ask questions. They just want to observe, try it for themselves because they think they got it, right? So if you want to do something without, assistance, but you bitch moan and complain that you never get any help, and somebody comes to help you, and you say, "No, I got it. I don't need your help." Then don't bitch moan and complain. If you're trying to get over your nerves, right? Then just do it, as Nike would say. But I ain't checking what Nike as Pop Smoke would say, right? And why would Pop Smoke say that, right? Public storage, AP. If you go out and you enjoy THC, just go out and do it. You're going to try to play an intimidation game? Are you retarded? Or you just want to see and push the boundaries and the buttons and so on and so forth? Do you know what somebody's doing, what they're up to, or you're just trying to fuck up their day? Because people want you to be as successful, but they don't want you to be as successful or more successful than them. Where did that whole quote come from? It's like a barrel of monkeys. One goes to the top, the other one's trying to either hang on or pull them back down because of the weight, right? Oh, I don't know what happened. Because as what does Lotto say? As monkey see, monkey do. Don't be a monkey. Because then you have to go to work on Monday so that you can afford the key to your apartment or house. Why don't you ask questions, speak up, don't point out, and do you. Or do the do. So take this as a grain of salt, a grain of sand, whatever the case may be. If you're looking for an hourglass figure and you have not a lot of time because you have an hourglass on your desk that probably has sand on it, encased in glass, with wood around it, so on and so forth, that tracks an hour and then you just got to twist it and then it does another hour, right? What are you going to do with that time, that space, right? That little moment of freedom, right? Freedom's not free, so don't be dumb, because that's why it's free dumb, but it sounds like D-U-M-D, but there's no B because the B's silent, right? There's a difference between freedom and liberty. Why is that? Think about it. Till next time, my friends, take care. Hope this video helps you get over your nerves, get you to, well, be yourself, and I'll see you in the next video of Finding Freedom. Peace.